I was like 6 or 7, and I remember the lady was like, "Well, this is your mom." I'm like, "She's not my mom," and she's like, "No, she's a fake mom." I'm like, "Well, she's not my mom." And like I was arguing with the lady. She's like, "Pretend it's your mom." I'm like, "Well, I don't like her. She's not my mom."
That would be way.
It was like so funny. The photographer's like, "Just fake it." And I'm like, "Well, it's not my mom, so I'm not going to be really nice to her." And they're like, "Well, smile." And I'm like, "Well, I don't like her." And I was like, I can't argue.
We're in the green room, Tom, because I love all the laughter and everything. It's so good for the soul. Because I'll be honest with you, I'm salty this morning. Listen, I've been so Ruta's back. Welcome. And Ruta's back from a fantastic vacation. Saw a lot of the pictures.
Yeah, it was awesome. I went to Turkey and Greece. It was
Right.
phenomenal. Quick shout out.
I went to Tallahassee. It was not.
No, but I wish everybody a happy spring and a Ramadan Mubarak to all our Muslim listeners. So, but
For sure.
be salty.
Listen, going to Tallahassee twice in the last 3
Yeah, that's
weeks,
so
and I may have
bad.
to go on Monday.
Oh, wow.
They are hearing the telehealth bill
Oh, they
in the
are?
Senate,
Senate?
in the Senate on
Okay, so that
Monday.
means it's gonna go.
And
Somebody pushed it.
it takes the visits from 30 weeks to 52 weeks,
Oh,
as I
wow.
told you was a rumor.
Wow.
And it's still not tight enough language for a lot of the docs last night. We'll get back to it, but we did have the doctor meeting
So
last
that
night that we have every third week, everybody. Listen, what you have to know about the doctors in Florida is that we want to protect the medical program. We want to make it what it should be.
Yeah,
The educational
absolutely.
experience
And
that every patient's looking for when they come in to see us.
But that's the thing, and I don't know about the telehealth.
I'm so depressed. I've got
Yeah.
tally head. I know. Listen, so if you've got the Florida channel, okay, on your
Yeah.
phone as an app or on your computer, then you're a sick puppy, okay?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, and I admit it. So a lot of people from the North, Ruta, and as you know, we have people from all over the world that watch us.
Yeah, we have people.
So Florida only meets in legislative session, everybody, for 2 months.
I mean, 2 months.
Well,
So it feels
2 weeks would probably be better.
I was on vacation.
No, but two months every year,
Yeah.
right? This year it's March through May, so we're in the legislative season. And listen, it's a part-time legislature. They meet
Yeah.
all year in some degree of committees and this and that.
Emergency committees and
A special session,
sessions,
which
yeah.
can be very
It can
unuseful.
last months on
It's
end.
a concentrated period of time where you know that you really have to focus on what's going on, and there's a lot going on.
A lot
But if you watch the Florida channel, I mean, it's really tough this year. Yesterday, for example, in the Senate Health Committee was the trans
Yeah.
debate, right? About the ability of doctors literally
Now
to do what the Academy of Pediatrics and the psychiatric associations call for:
Right.
acceptance, helping these children, hormonally assisting them in
No, he shut it off.
transitioning.
Yeah, DeSantis wants them.
No, but it's criminal for doctors to do it.
Yeah, no, now it's going to be criminal.
And parents
And-
can have their children taken away.
Yeah, it's
So I think they're
insane.
literally driving some of these families out of the state.
They're gonna drive this, they will. And I just saw something else cross my.
And it's not our issue, everybody, but I'm saying if you're watching the Florida channel right now, you have to see what's
You have to
going on
take
in
us-
Florida.
And be really scared of what's going
From
on.
8 different angles.
So many angles. And I saw yesterday again, across my phone, that DeSantis is gonna bring the Don't Say Gay all the way through high school. It's not even gonna be through like 3rd grade or whatever.
So dear friend of the show, Carlos Guillermo Smith, okay, predicted this from the
Yeah, he
get-go,
did.
okay.
It's coming. Everything's coming. Yeah. I mean, the 6-week abortion bill, everything is coming down. Everything's just a mess.
And so I got to get out of medical cannabis doctor head for a second and go into emergency doctor head. It's 6 weeks.
You don't even know you're pregnant.
6 weeks.
I want to say most women don't even know they're pregnant at 6 weeks. You
And-
barely know at like 8.
Listen, that's when most young females are starting to freak out when they've missed their period.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
right. And they're not sure. Like,
And they're not sure. And the women are irregular.
regular. So some of them, they may not get it for 3 months and oh, sorry, you're pregnant. Too bad. You can't get an abortion now, even if you, whatever.
And the exceptions, okay, are for rape, incest. They tried to get human trafficking in, but that one, they couldn't somehow squeeze in. That was Senator Book. Thank God for people up there that try to put in and nothing is common sense about this, these say
Nothing.
common sense amendment. And then life of the mother. So here's what's interesting to me, okay, is that first off, rape, incest, you got to make a police report.
Yeah, you
It
do.
changes everything.
Everything
It
in your
changes
life.
every
And
life.
just about the trauma first, like, I mean, just the stuff that
I
they're.
can't even think about
I
it.
can't
I
either.
can't even
It's
think
very-
about it.
It's
And
very
that's why the mother, it's kind of almost interesting. In medical cannabis world, thank God we have similar, likewise, or as comparable, okay, to PTSD. If you're of a certain age and you don't have access to abortion and it's going to change your life and you know you have to get it, you may go rusty coat hanger.
I know. God
Okay, hang
forbid.
on.
God
And people
forbid.
say, well,
God
Dr. Berry,
forbid.
what the heck is that? Well, Dr. Berry started emergency medicine. You know, he's going to be 67 in May.
Who knew?
Inside green room joke. Seriously, when you go back to emergency medicine in 1981, okay, we didn't have the procedures of the rusty coat hanger at the time because thank God Roe v. Wade had come through and there were safe legal abortions. But I did see women with the complications of that, the scarred uterus and the infections and things of that. But even to think about everything backwards. So my point is it a risk of the life of a young mother to have to be subjected to the draconian things in Florida? So I'm waiting for the doctor to say, you know what, my moral conscience leads me to know that this girl may go and do something to harm herself, kill herself.
Yes.
And that is almost similar, likewise, or as comparable.
You know what? It truly is.
Dr. Berry's not a lawyer and he doesn't want to play one on TV.
No.
But when
you should charge like one does, but
no, there are a lot of Jewish doctor lawyer guys. Yeah, mothers that were completely somehow. I need this levity today because when you see what's going on up in Tallahassee with these debates about so many things, let's go back in the cannabis world and talk about the hemp bill
oh my gosh.
for a moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
The hemp world is turned upside down a little bit.
So Senator Colleen Burton is attempting to get some degree
Which
of
is good.
It is. We know we need regulation. We know we need safety.
In her speech like that she gave, she doesn't want it on like the creams and stuff like that. She's not talking about that, but she is talking about the packaging and the safetiness of gummies and things.
Well, the vapes, that are out there, Delta 8 vapes and otherwise. And
farmers market, and it's so like, really, what if some kid goes up and takes 10 of them? I mean, come on.
it's happened. It's always going to happen. But my point is that we need safety, we need regulation. We also need to recognize the ability of our good friends that are legitimately in the hemp side of the business to have a business, to be able to sell legitimate products that are state tested as well. They need to be state tested. I've always had that view of it.
But again, I wonder in Tallahassee if people are obviously maybe getting backhanded checks somehow.
Education. And that's what angers me is that, and Senator Burton, I'm going to do that email today, Ruta, because I may need to go to Tallahassee on Monday. I haven't decided yet. I know for sure, because they need a cannabis 101. They do. She asked for it.
And then the thing is, she doesn't even know where to get it from. So what if she gets somebody who's not practicing the right thing or doing the
That's
thing?
the point. The education needs to come from the doctor side. And the most important thing that I did in the past 2 weeks, Ruta, when you were on your fantastic vacation, was put on the white coat and go to Tallahassee and speak in the first committee hearing for the telehealth bill.
Which was great.
And I firmly believe that we need to have telehealth back into the recertification space in Florida. But let me tell you, and this is why I came in so darn tally-headed and salty this morning, okay? Because at the doctor meeting last night, okay, and everybody, once again, we meet in Florida. The doctors we're trying to stay on top of it. We want to be proactive, okay, and assist the state and educate the state. But unfortunately, we're forced to be reactive to what it is that's put upon us.
Yes, because they just come out with.
So the telehealth bill, it's House Bill 387, everybody, and there's a Senate companion that's going to be heard on Monday that I don't know the number on it, but it's 387 in the House. And we firmly believe that for the safety of our patients, for the convenience of our patients, okay? I got about 8 other reasons. The most debilitated of our patients
Yeah,
can't
there's so many.
get here,
They can't.
right?
Even
And a lot of people are working 2 jobs now after the storm and don't
Yeah.
want to take a couple, 3, 4 hours out of their day to get here.
Yeah,
And who wants to drive on 75,
oh my
okay?
God, which takes you an hour now from Sarasota to
During
Sarasota.
season or not,
Yeah.
or I-4, or 95, or
Because we have
10 up in
patients coming
Tallahassee,
from
for
everywhere.
sure. Patients coming in from everywhere. And so it's a safety issue.
It is.
But the docs are very concerned about the language, Ruta, that
It should
that
be
it
the
that it
doctor
has to
who's
be
seeing
the
you.
doctor who's
It
seeing
should
the patient already
the
in
doctor
that
should be
office
in Florida.
in Florida. You know, it's in that provider group,
Yes.
be it a, Doc MJ or Canna MD or MMTC. Well, the bigger
Yeah.
groups, the bigger
No, we
groups
should even
have
do
different
that.
locations and different docs. We need to be cognizant of that. But we need to take care of the bad players, okay, that have been doing it outside of the bounds of the law from the get-go.
Like
Unfortunately,
Darren,
everybody, and I've heard this number in Tallahassee, so I feel comfortable in sharing it, in this forum. 20,000 patients estimated, Ruta, to be illegally in the program,
Wow.
okay, because they were put in via telehealth for their initial evaluations. And, we've called out the particular organization that passed in the green room. I don't need to do it today. It's okay. Everybody knows who it is. But the point is, there's a very dangerous amendment, okay, that was added in the first hearing that I didn't even know about, and I was up there. And the amendment says that the OMU now for the medical cannabis practices and doctors, that's what happened in last night's doctor meetings. Because we were talking about how to take care of the bad business practices, right? And when I was in Tallahassee over the past couple weeks, I saw everybody up there. It was unbelievable. Yeah. I want to give a big shout out to Kim Hawks, who came out of the OMU, Courtney Coppola, past OMU director. I had a wonderful 15-minute convo with her. And what she told me was really interesting, is that the OMU has no means of regulating the business side.
Who does?
Essentially nobody. That's what came up in the doctor meeting last night.
It was so the world don't care.
That's what was so
regulates them.
But Very Hill's money is driving the research bill.
Yeah, I wonder
we think we don't know.
They are.
I'm not up there. Listen, I'm not up there. I gotta stand up for this one. They're handing out envelopes.
No.
Okay, I'm trying to hand out education.
Yes, to
and I'm trying to hand out logic. Okay,
absolutely.
Proudly, I've had wonderful conversations with Representative Roach and Representative Dr. Rudman. Okay, I had a very unique experience. I was in the Speaker of the House's office. Okay, Representative Renner. I handed him our cannabis compassionate cannabis clinic card. I was in the governor's office. Didn't quite get to meet the governor, but I did meet Chief of Staff Katie Strickland. Okay, and I handed her our card. And that's a whole nother green room story. And I'm gonna have to invite Representative Rudman into the green room.
He should invite.
We do. He's a new member of the House of Representatives. Everybody who's a doctor from the Panhandle family practice. And I don't think his bill is going to be heard because it's getting late in the session already. And that's why we're happy that the Senate companion for Representative Roach's bill is going to be heard. But there's issues. But the point is, Representative Rudman, the new doctor in the House, once again, it was fun. I greeted him in my 2 minutes up there. And I also said the words to him, and it was really gratifying. And I think I mentioned this in the green room last week, but it's worth repeating again. When I said the words, we need all the arrows in the quiver, okay, to assist our patients. It's not hard. It's not easy being a doctor these days.
No, it's not. And you
can just see the agreement from him. And every doctor knows that. And that's what's so interesting about Tallahassee this year, is the incongruence of some of the directions and some things that are freedom issues and some things that are not freedom issues. And
bothers me are the medical issues.
It is.
They're not in their lane. They're just not in their lane, and they really need to stay in their lane. And when you have a group of people, like they said, I mean, there's nobody to regulate the business side, but they kind of want to super focus on physicians, even though they don't have the physician. They're not even speaking with physicians that do everything. So and
physicians will leave the state too. There's going to be a brain drain.
There would be.
I saw a report the other day about, I think it was Idaho or Iowa or one of those
No,
there.
there will
No, I'm
be.
kidding. No, but seriously, I mean, when you put there's not a hospital, I think, in 3 counties that even has a maternity center anymore.
They
You know,
won't.
they won't deliver.
It's
It's
Sarasota
unbelievable.
Memorial, like before I went away, they had an interesting thing. They were approached by DeSantis's office, and it's been a community hospital since its inception, 37 years. And it's one of the, it's a very proud hospital. I mean, they service our community. We've attracted top-notch physicians, educated all over the world. It's really a really very good hospital. Well, it was approached that maybe they should no longer be a community hospital and it should go private, and that the board would be replaced by DeSantis's board.
Wow.
So Sarasota Memorial had a big shakeup a couple of weeks ago.
There's a
So
headline this
I
morning.
hope Aaron, you fight them off. He's a strong guy, so I hope
Wow.
I hope he fights tooth and nail, because if they do that, there will be a brain drain from SMH. People will not stay.
Yeah.
They just will not.
No, the appointing of these boards, okay, by the
anointing.
governor. Well, it
It's
is. It is.
It's more anointing for him. He's doing that to everybody.
It's a very insidious way, you know, of really being an autocrat.
He
you
is an
know?
autocrat. I mean, there's no question. And frightening. Oh, I have to say, this is it's a kind of a side note. When I was flying back from Frankfurt, Germany, we landed in Dulles, and from Dulles, we came back to Tampa. Sitting next to me was a commander in the
She yada the 2 days she had to wander around Greece.
Yes.
Trying to get out of the country because there was a strike. Yeah, let's yada that whole part, you know. Let's plane.
But we did finally get on a plane, and this commander from the military, I asked him point blank about Ukraine, because obviously it's something that's I'm a little bit more sensitive about. And he was saying, he goes, you have to understand, he goes, I'm not political Republican, I'm not political Democrat. He goes, I serve the commander in chief, no matter who it is. Nice. And that's every military person should be doing that. And he's been in the military 32 years. He had 3 tours in Iraq. He had 2 in Afghanistan. He was in Sarajevo. The guy's like, I mean, his litany of where he's been is incredible. One of the things he did make a comment on is our wonderful state of Florida. And he did say, he said the only thing that was very frightening, and he said, as a military person, he dreads the fact that DeSantis or Trump can go into the Oval Office. And this is a military commander for decades. And he said, because Putin is just waiting for this. And it was one of those things that like hits you in the face, because this is a guy that's, I mean, literally.
DeSantis came out with his, territorial dispute or boundary dispute or whatever.
But also, this is the other thing. A lot of people try to ignore this. DeSantis invested over $300 million of our tax money into Russia.
Sure, I remember that.
And it's still there.
In the green room.
Yeah, but these, like, I mean, that's like a totally side note, but sure. I mean, we're talking about DeSantis and what's going on. It's very frightening.
No, that's a message going to Putin and Xi, you know, that is, chilling.
It is chilling, but the fact that all of this is coming from our governor,
unbelievable,
is very frightening. So from cannabis to women's rights to what children can learn. I mean, we were discussing book burning. I mean, the fact is, if you can't read Anne Frank in high school, are you kidding me? That's one of the banned books. I loved Anne Frank. To Kill a Mockingbird. Come on, like, what else are you going to ban? I mean, Winnie the Pooh. I mean, who's going to be like, seriously? It's like, it's in science. Yeah, it's just
bizarre. It's just bizarre, and I mean, woke, quote unquote, wokeism.
On that plane too. There were 4 of us sitting in a row. We had like a really cool plane ride, and luckily we got to travel in business class.
One of the pods.
Whatever they
are.
Pods. So I
can't wait to be able to do that.
Yeah. Nice. And so anyways, we were in the pods and we were all getting up and talking and stuff. And it was me, the military guy. There was a guy from Florida. It was really interesting. His last name is Trump, no relation. But an interesting guy from Largo, and his brother had served and actually lost a leg in Afghanistan. And it ended up the commander and his brother. This is a cool story. they knew each other
Well, sure.
because they trained at one place like a long time ago, but he was already a commander, but he knew of him. He goes, I know him. He goes, he was in the water. And he goes, when they came out of the water, somebody shot his leg and took his leg off. But they knew each other. So he knew of him. And it was kind of a crazy small world. And then we had
It's a small world.
he also had a Chinese businessman. So it was kind of interesting because the Chinese businessman was kind of like laying back and listening to the conversation. Well, I haven't been going on this. This is like, anyways, but we were just talking about rules and guidelines of every country. And what the Chinese guy found it interesting was that we do have states and they individually rule. And then we have a big state that and it's not the big state that always supersedes, and you have so many local rules.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. Yeah, and
it's a mess in cannabis world. It's going to be a mess in healthcare world.
Everywhere.
You know, we're waiting for the ruling to come down from the Texas judge somehow. That's gonna like take away the most common form of reproductive health. You know, in the country. What's going on? So, you know what I mean? And it's a pledge I want to make to everybody who's watching the green room this morning. And, you know, listen, when I was up at the Florida Can last Thursday, you know, it's been a whirlwind. And, you know, that's why today's picture is that we're home. We're home.
For you too, you had like a crazy circle.
It's going to continue to, because I think Monday I'm going to have to go back up. But listen, people do watch the green room, and a lot of people, you know, count on it for these type of updates. The most important thing that's going on right now in Tallahassee in the cannabis space, absolutely positively, is the hemp bill. Now, why is that important to medical cannabis? It's important to medical cannabis because what they're literally attempting to do in the hemp space is keep that stuff, which is going to be, got to protect the children. I mean, that, you know, it's just like kind of the only way to say it.
It is.
And they even admit it. All right. And that's the stuff that's poorly packaged, poorly labeled. Okay. In gummy form. No one argues any of that. For sure. But there's going to be bad actors where money always supersedes. Okay.
That spoke in front of the committee, and she's like, well, we invested heavily here. Well, okay, big deal, but do it the right way. So you came in to make a quick buck and leave.
Well, that was one. You know, be a little kinder, you know, as I'll be a little kinder as those type of business, you know, folks explained. Governor DeSantis during the worst of COVID said Florida's open for business. They come from, they do, and they invest in this and that. And then to them, to a certain extent, rug gets pulled out. But what I've always maintained to my friends in the hemp space is that give us the high quality minor cannabinoids, okay? Give us high quality CBD, give us CBG, CBC, CBN, those other minor cannabinoids, okay, that really are better produced in a hemp plant, so to speak. The MMTCs are going to do what the MMTCs are going to do. They're going to produce high quality THC products, Delta 9 THC products. The Delta 9 products that you see in the smoke shops, God forbid, as you say, the gas stations, you know, they say that they're hemp derived. The confusing thing is that the CBD oil can cheaply be made. Well, I don't know. I guess it's cheap. But I guess the cheaper it is, the more solvents and garbage and this and that there is left, and the other this and that. But it can also be, made into Delta 9 through a different process. So it is confusing. But what they're trying to stop are those people that are bypassing the MMTC world, which is where it gets dicey on the business side. A lot of my advocate friends, and I have plenty of them, they're angry at certain dispensaries, okay, and you're the good one at putting out names these days on the side. The biggest in the state. You know, many people feel that the MMTC world, okay, is literally driving the hemp bill.
They are. I think they are.
Maybe they may not be. I tend to be la-di-da, altruistic. Who could do that? But we know better.
We know who could do that. But that's okay.
But the point is, there is a legitimate role for the hemp world. But it's not in the THC game right now. That's why yesterday's news conference, which was a complete joke, okay, by the Department of Agriculture, it was Commissioner Simpson now and Will Robinson, right, and Senator Burton. But they really didn't say very much. But what Will Robinson did say that was very telling and very interesting: stay in your lane. stay in your lane. That's that. Those were his words. So he wants hemp guys over here staying in their lanes, and I don't think it includes THC to them. It just doesn't.
But I think.
Or Delta 9, excuse me. It doesn't include Delta 9 THC.
The thing is, like one woman on the Congress side and the state's representative side, she was like, "What's THC? What's hemp? What's this?" They don't even know what's Delta 9. They didn't know anything. And here they are listening to these bills being proposed, and they have no clue. And I'm like, shame on them.
I'm going to offer to sponsor a lunch or something like that. And you're not a lot of state reps or senators, but you'll get their aides. You'll get the guys that sit out on the front desks,
but at least
and they'll come to lunch with Dr. Barry, you know, and seriously. And listen, the reason I particularly want to be involved in this is that it's always been my talent. I do it every day. I break down the educational model of the endocannabinoid system and what's going on with THC, CBD, and the other cannabinoids to the level of the patient that I have. And I can do the same thing up there. I assume they're pretty educated people, all those people that
but not in
manage to run, but not in cannabis.
And listen, when I came here, I had no clue either. Like I get it. If you're not into it,
but if a farmer can really educate them, and it's so hard to hear them talk about equivalencies and potencies, and they don't know, and they really don't.
For the average person, okay, you drive down the streets of Sarasota and you see
that's the
signs
point
of THC, and there's signs. You can buy THC here, and they're not by the dispensaries. These are
so there's two sides to it. One is the quality, safety, consistency of the product that can be done with a state level testing lab, everything from outside. See, it's so hard these days too, because people get things through the mail.
Oh yeah,
right. I mean, people bring things in from out of state. So it's tough, but anything legitimately sold on a shelf in Florida, in my humble opinion, should go through a state level sponsored testing lab for purity of product. For example, if you just want to use a Delta 8 product and you don't want any Delta 9, well, why would that be? Well, maybe you don't want to test positive for Delta 9 on a drug test. Although Delta 8 will test you positive too, but there's a big discussion about that all over the place. But the point is, people don't want Delta 9 sometimes. I maintain that most of the Delta 8 out there has absolutely some degree of Delta 9, but the point is people should know what it is. No solvents, no heavy metals, no this, no that, right?
If you're ingesting it or inhaling it, I'm sorry, you should know what it is, and you should know what it is.
And I'll be honest with you, I just don't trust the manufacturer COAs, certificates of authenticity. They're too easy to cut and paste. They're typically done by lab. This needs to be done by a state recognized lab, so that when a patient walks in, then the second thing is harder. And I charge my hemp space friends to self-police yourselves on this. Okay, you got to be an honest purveyor. You can't have a customer walk into your smoke shop, okay, and ask, "Hey, THC, I thought I had to have a medical, this, that, whatever." And if the guy says all THCs are allowed, then that's a dishonest purveyor.
Yeah, it is. But for them, they just want to make a buck. So
some do, some don't. But my point is that we need the honesty. But that's hard to, that's hard to legislate.
It's very
money gets in the way.
But that's why I still think.
But there's tons of money that's been spread around. I've been told that bill will not go through anywhere near in the form that it is. What I've heard is that there may be a 0.5 milligram per piece cap on Delta 9 THC and I've heard different numbers, maybe a 10 milligram per package total. So if you had 20 gummies that were each 0.5, that would add up to 10 milligrams of THC. So if somebody wants to buy an entire bag and eat them for a 10 milligram experience, then I guess they could do that, right? But my point is, it is about money and it is about control, and it makes it complicated. And
it's hard because it's also less expensive. So when you're talking for a medical cannabis patient, it gets expensive between getting their card and then going to the doctors and getting recertification.
I'm going to be almost 9 o'clock because I was going to say that's going to segue right into the next issue, which is what's going to happen up in the Senate on Monday. And I'll be back next week for another report, guys. But the Senate bill is different. It does take that 30-week visit to 52 weeks. I can't imagine how that's going to fly in the very conservative Senate. And I'll be honest with you, it's just so incongruous to me to have Senator Burton, and it's her committee that hears this the first time through in the Senate.
Oh, wow.
Senator Burton over here, very involved in the hemp space, okay? And then over here with that 52-weeker, and I don't know, I mean, here in the clinic, we see our patients when they need to be
And
seen.
we see them for free. I mean.
we see them for free in the
them,
follow-up
you know,
visits,
if
you
they
know.
need 2, 3, whatever, they can come back for free. And, but again, our model is very nice because it's education. And we
Well, it's
want our
because
patients safe to be
I
safe.
know the only way to learn medical cannabis is to take the financial disincentive out of the follow-up visit.
Yeah,
So our
absolutely.
newest of patients, even if it's $25 or $50 or whatever, I don't even want that to stop them from coming in, telling us how they're doing, taking a look at their products, helping to dial it in.
It's like, okay,
critical.
so like, I understand perhaps, like, I actually would probably even change the language even more. I think of an annual visit is for somebody who's already been in the system, perhaps 3, 4, 5
We
years.
talk of that after a couple of years, 3 years, for sure.
I'm sorry, for the first, they need that follow-up visit because if they're new to cannabis, it's very hard. So at least on that
And-
follow-up, they have.
And
to come in
groups have
and
opposed
talk.
it in the past. They've actually had lobbyists that have spoken against that once a year visit. And of course, the most conservative and prohibitionist amongst those, you would think they'd want to
They
have the
wanna have
tighter
the
control.
At least for the first.
So it's interesting. There's also different language about who can do the research on telehealth in the Senate bill than there is in the House
wow.
bill. And there's a lot of debate, but what we want, and this is critical, we want to make sure that it's tight. We want to make sure that that recertification visit is done by the appropriate doctor. We don't want poaching from this to that. We don't want anybody coming in from out of state and completely demolishing the market. Okay. It doesn't make any sense in Florida right now. We're going to have at least 3 to 4 more years of very important, at least 3 to 4 more years of a very important time for medical cannabis here in Florida, where we need to protect our products, protect our
patients.
work for job protections,
Yeah,
okay,
there's a lot to
work
do
for
about it.
reciprocity state by state, you know.
Still a lot of work ahead.
Rehab centers and assisted living centers need to have better access for their
Absolutely.
patients. So these are all issues that we need to work on. But when we get distracted, okay, then it gets difficult. So we're going to keep the focus. So stay with us
Yeah.
and, listen, stay in touch with your representatives and your senators
Absolutely.
to
And
let them know.
write to them and write to the governor.
They hear it, believe me, I tell you, when I go up there, they know the bills that are getting more heat than others.
And they have to address it. And I think even Representative Roach, I think his district probably made a big shout out because that's why, I mean, he brought up this bill. I think it was just because so many people are talking about it. So pay attention, everybody, write your senator, your congressman here in Florida. And
To our Democratic friends, I'm giving you a big boost and a big shout out, man. It is not easy. And there's tears shed in these hearings. And I know they're real tears, and they're tears of fear. I don't blame us, right now. So let's all keep paying attention and, listen, register, vote, speak, do your thing, and support everybody. That's what we need.
Everybody who's out there fighting.
We're all needing about more love right now. I feel a little better at the end of the green room than I did at the.
Are we at the clock?
Yeah, well.
We're gonna make it we're happy to be back and get in a good mood again. So I'm in a good mood.
We'll see you next week in the green room.
Everybody, bye.